Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah. I am going to, this is a different kind of video. Let's just put it like that. I know a lot of people who are really anxious about leaving America or their country, wherever they're from, and they want to get to the lands of the Muslims and they want to experience Islam, you know, in the lands of Islam. And I'm in a lot of groups and a lot of places where, you know, people talk about what country to go to and, you know, and how's the education over there and how's the medical and how's the you know, the vibe of the people. Is there racism? Are there Salafi masajid? Are there Salafi schools? Are there Salafi this and that? Are there any ulama like this? And I say this from a place of sincerity, okay? You cannot entertain the idea of making Hijrah if you don't even have a passport. See, the passport is serious. The passport means you're serious. You're not, as we used to say back in the past, you're not just selling wolf cookies. You know, you're not just talking about it. You've taken a small step. And you might think that that's a real small step. Okay, I'll worry about the passport later. I'll worry about the passport when I figure out where I'm going and I do all of my research and I settle on the thing and I'm talking with my family and I got enough money, you know, and then I find out what the tickets are. And then the passport tends to be something that's last, when in actuality, it should be something that's first. So, you know, there's an expression that says that the longest journey begins with the first step. Statistically, and this number may be a little off, I'm going to say, given the benefit of the doubt, I'm going to say plus or minus 5 or 10%. 80% of Americans do not have a passport. 80% of Americans do not have a passport. And there's a lot of reasons behind that, but I'm going to give you my take on that. I believe that many Americans don't have a passport because most Americans of that 80%, most of that 80% believes that they know everything they need to know about other cultures, other people, other societies, you know, foreign countries, because they are under the assumption that since people come to their country, that they learn about these people that way. Well, we are around them all the time. They come here all the time. They're always trying to come into America, this and that and the other. Let me see if I can adjust this. There we go. So I'm going to say that's not right. Meeting someone from another country is not the same. Let me see if I can share this, you guys, because this is important stuff. So I'm going to go. Give me 1 second, okay? So yes. And that. Give me 1 second, you guys. Sorry. Just give me a second. Usual groups I share too. We'll do that one. Give me a minute. Give me a second. I should have done this beforehand, right? Almost done. Give me a second. Don't go away. 1, 2, 3. I think that's it. Okay, so meeting someone from another culture is not the same as you experiencing the culture and the people in that country. It's not the same thing. So from that 80% of people, right, most of them, I'm going to even venture out to say the better part of half of them, okay, have never been outside the United States. And I'm not talking about Tijuana or Jamaica or the Bahamas. I mean, like outside of the continental United States, outside of this area, this hemisphere of Northern America. I'm not talking about Canada, okay? I'm talking about outside in a completely different country where English is not the norm or is not the language of that land. The culture is different. The people are different. The customs are different. The value systems are different. There's so much to see, so much to learn, so much to do. And it makes you a very well-rounded person. You will not see everything that you actually agree with. All right. There are some things that are just beyond our ability to accept in terms of culture, but it doesn't mean that they're wrong. It just means that that's a different culture. They prioritize things different than the way we prioritize. And then also you will find a lot of similarities. There are a lot of things that are very similar in a lot of different cultures in different parts of the world that you didn't think so before. That 80% is never going to experience that or has not experienced that yet. The other 20% are those who do have passports. Many of them haven't used the passport. They haven't used the passport. So you just got the passport. It's good for 10 years and you're sitting. Okay. I would say if you're going to, broaden your horizon, you're going to, increase your awareness of the world around you, and I teach students from different countries, and I always tell them, you guys are not the only people on the planet. There are other people on the planet besides you, and you need to go find out and experience those people. And you can't rely on television, cinema, and every other device as a substitute or a surrogate for, you're not wanting to know, you're not finding out what else is in the world around you. So I said all that to say that the first thing you should do when you're talking about going to another country or moving to another country and uprooting your family and everything that and you get your savings up and your job situation, before you do that, go visit another country. There are so many places now. The Middle East is much more open than it was, say, 5 or 10 years ago. When I was first coming out here, it was very, very strict in terms of the conditions that you could come to the country. Either you were a student, or you were coming for Hajj or Umrah, or you were working, and that was it. The visitation was there, but it was it was under certain circumstances, and not every country was doing it. Go visit other countries. Okay, go visit other countries. Go out and network with people. I am not a social person, but it's something I've had to force myself to do because I live in a world. I don't live in a city. I don't live on my block. I know people who have never been off their block. Everything is around them is convenient. You got to go and experience the whole world, but you got to get that passport first. How are you talking about going to another country? I'm going to make Hijrah to this country. I'm going to this land and the Muslims and da. You ain't got a passport out here. You ain't got a passport. Get a passport first, okay? Oh, I can't afford it. You can afford it, man. If you can't afford it, save up $20 a month. Is it no? Yeah, save up $20 a month for the next 7-8 months. You ain't going nowhere right now, right? You don't have any money to leave right now anyway. You don't have money for a ticket right now. You don't have a job lined up right now. You haven't finished your education right now. So you got time. Save you up $20 a month for the next 6 or 7 months. That'll give you about $140 a month. If I'm not mistaken, the passport is either $105 or $150. I just renewed mine. And get you a passport. When you get that passport, it's good for 10 years. Make a trip. Don't be like the people who think that, well, I'm going to do these kinds of things, when I get older and I get more settled and established, or I retire maybe, or I get a certain age and my career is at X spot, and my marriage is like this and my kids are like this and I got time. That time really is not going to ever come. You have to make that time happen. You have to make it happen. And the only way to make it happen is just to make it happen. And it might sound like it's easier said than done. Your situation, your finances and what your personal situation is like. But if you can get that, I strongly advise you get a passport. I'm sitting out here now in the car, as you can tell. We just finished praying Salatul Jummah. The weather is beautiful. The vibe is just different. You wake up in the morning. First of all, you're waking up to the adhan for Fajr. Akhi, ikhwan, wa akhwat. Being in the lands of the Muslims at the time of Fajr, there is no sound on earth better, more beautiful than the sound of multiple adhan going off at the same time. Like the sky just comes alive with the takbir of Allah. You can hear it, man, for almost miles. Just Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, the whole sky. And it's like 2 minutes, a minute before that explosion of beautiful sounds, there's this hum in the sky. You can hear it in the sky. There's a hum. And then the whole thing just opens up and you hear this takbir everywhere. And that's just the adhan for the salah. That's any adhan at any time of the day. It's the most beautiful sound, but especially in the morning. So now it's wintertime, and I like to sleep with the windows open only so I can hear the adhan for Fajr. Sometimes I'll wake up about 5 or 10 minutes before Fajr and just lay there in the bed so I can just listen for the adhan. It's the most beautiful sound. Now you add that sound to the adhan for Salatul Jumu'ah. So all the masajid in the area now, the ones that are open for Salatul Jumu'ah, because there's different kinds of masajid. Some masajids are just for the salat. We call them like musallas. It's a masjid, but it's more of a musalla where the people come and pray. It's in a neighborhood somewhere, you know. It's a big area. It's not a small place. Sometimes we think musalla, we think small area or small place of prayer, but it's a bigger place of prayer. And we pray in the neighborhood. But then there are some masajid, because the sunnah is that the smaller body joins the larger body. So they normally refer to these masajid as masjid al-jami, which is the masjid where all the people congregate, jama'ah, the group, the congregation. So in those masajid, you're going to have the adhan for Salatul Jumu'ah. So it won't be every masjid, but you can still hear it. And there's two adhans. So you got the first adhan, then you hear the second adhan. And it's the same explosion of Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. And it's different tones and different rates of speed and at different times and like that. It's wonderful. Then you finish the salah and everybody is just happy. You know how you feel happy in your neighborhood when you come from the masjid? Multiply that. Put an exponent on that. Do that times 10, times 100. It's just a vibe in the air. It's a vibe in the air. And if you've been up and you've been, after Fajr, you sitting, you reading Quran or whatever, you just drinking a cup of coffee or whatever your situation is, that feeling, man, like you do that, you combine that. Now the weather is just beautiful because it's wintertime, so it's not so hot now. The weather is beautiful. It's a nice windy day outside. You're seeing the people, and the people, mashallah, this is one of the things that I really love about living in the Middle East. And that is, Islam is the culture. Islam is in the culture. So when a person is nice to you, when a person is smiling at you, when a person is offering to pay for your groceries, or a person is offering to give you a ride, they don't want nothing from you. This is just a hasanat, a good deed he's trying to do. It's in the culture. It's in the society of the people. So when you have something like that, it's like, because it's in the society, it's not something that's seasonal. So, we have back in our countries, we have seasons where people are just really nice to each other. They're very, very kind and courteous and all this other stuff, this goodwill toward men stuff. But that's seasonal. And seasonal for the most part. It's seasonal. After that season goes away, the people kind of slide back to this air of indifference and non-compassion that they have about themselves in general. But this is in the society. It's like, if I got out this car right now and left my car windows down, I'm not going to find nobody near my car. I'm not going to find anybody sitting next to my car looking shady. If I leave my bike, which I've done a few times, leave my bike at the gym without the lock on it, I don't have to keep watching the window to make sure nobody's going to take my bike. It's not in the society. And for people who do stuff like that, the society itself, they really converge in on that person like, Abe means like, shame on you. Abe, how could you do something like that? They get on him about that. You don't have to say nothing. It's in the society. So now you combine that with, people who are, the taqwa is something that really runs the society. People are on their honor, not because of fear of retribution from the legal system, but fear of retribution from Allah. Allah is watching that. Allah saw you when you broke in that man's house. Abe. Shame on you. How could you do something like that? What's wrong with you? Shafiq, what's wrong with you? And people talk with each other like I see them all the time. Even the young guys, the teenagers, man. Teenagers, as rambunctious as they can be, as out of those stratospheres they can be sometimes, because they just wildly like that because they're just kids. But when it comes down to it, if it's starting to get out of hand, I see them correcting each other and check each other. Akhi, let them. Don't lie, akhi, don't lie. Wallah, you lie. They will do that. They check each other. I'm not saying that that behavior does not exist elsewhere in our countries. I'm not saying that. I'm not trying to say that this is, oh, the perfect society, you should come here. Every place has their problems, okay? But what you find in Islamic societies is that Islam is the thing that's the line in the sand. That's the thing that holds the people in check. So people don't do things, they don't act a certain behavior across the bond, beyond the bound. They don't go beyond the limit because something about Islam is in the society and it checks them. You know, normally I don't read comments. I'm going to read this. Anyway, it's very nice. And it's like, okay, like I said before, because I don't want to try to paint a picture of utopia. You know, you got your problems in every place in the world. There's crime here, believe it or not. There's crime here. Everybody ain't running around getting their hands cut off and their heads cut off, but there is crime here, okay? But it's so minuscule in comparison to what we go through. You know what I mean? Like, I just found out, I always thought that having a gun in Saudi Arabia, I thought guns were outlawed in Saudi Arabia. They're not. They're not outlawed at all. I didn't know that until maybe a few days ago, actually. So all this time, I've been in this area for almost 15 years. I always thought that guns were outlawed. They're not. But they are reserved for the citizens only, and you can only have it either in your car or in your house, which sounds similar to America, right? So then what is the problem that in America we have so many people shooting each other, right? Because a person could say, well, if you have the gun in your house, who's going to know if you carry the gun on you? Which is true. Who's going to know if you have a loaded gun in the car in Saudi Arabia? Which is true. So what is stopping the people from just going gun crazy and shooting and killing each other? It's the fear of Allah. It's the fear of Allah. When you have taqwa in your society, things are different. Things are different. People are not trying to cheat you because Allah is watching everything. You know, people don't say bad things about you. And if they do, there's some retribution that follows that from the legal system. See, it's not just the moral part. It's also in the legal system. I'll give you an example, quick example, and I don't want to go on a tangent. Several years ago, I want to say about 10, 12 years ago, about 10 or 12 years ago, there was a black African Saudi, or black skinned Saudi. She was she was in the line in the grocery store, and there was a more fair olive-skinned Saudi woman behind her. So the way that the lines are, in a lot of Middle Eastern countries, people are not in single file all the time. It's just this merge, like you're getting on a highway, and everybody just kind of agrees to just let everybody just cut in front of them. So she actually cut in front of her, and so the fair-skinned Saudi sister, she got upset, and she said something to the effect that, how is it now that our slaves just walk up in front of us in the line? And the fat hit the fan after that. The police was called, you know what I'm saying? The darker skinned Saudi woman, she called the police. The woman got arrested, and she was taken to court, and the court fined her for defamation. They fined the light skinned Saudi woman 24,000 riyal that she had to pay as compensation for slander, for defamation of character. It's in the society, you guys. It's in the society. Whereas where we come from, they'll call you a name and keep stepping. And there's no retribution behind that. You know what I mean? Now, in a lot of cases, that goes unchecked and there's nothing that happens. But there's a system there. There's laws that are enforced for that kind of thing if you decide to take it that far. If somebody call you the N-word in America, good luck getting a court date for that. It's just part of the society. So the point I'm making is that get a passport. Because, see, when you get the passport, you're going to be able to come out to places like this now. Get your hotel room, you know what I'm saying, somewhere nice, you know. Find you a travel agency, okay? Don't try to do a lot of this stuff on your own. Find you a travel agent who's going to give you a nice little package of transportation from the airport, you know, a nice little room, 2-3 days or whatever, you know, good discounted tickets, get you one of those packages, and get your passport, man. And come out here, man, and sit around with the people, man. There's so, like, the weather now is really, really nice. So in the daytime, you come out, there's coffee shops, there's with like little tables and chairs sitting outside, and people just talking and chit-chatting and drinking coffee and doing their thing. You know what I'm saying? And they like talking to foreigners, especially Americans. They just like talking to American people. They just like talking to people who are different from them, mostly Westerners. You know, it's not that they're trying to be like them. They don't want to be like you, and they don't want to, you know, assume your culture. They don't want your passport. They don't want to come to America and get the citizenship. They just find us interesting. They found this very interesting. And if you can go and strike up a conversation, they're very friendly people, you know, very friendly people. Don't be afraid to approach them. But you get a chance to see the layout of the land. You get a chance to experience something. If you can stay for longer than 3 or 4 days, a week will be perfect. A week will be perfect. Okay. That's also my advice for those who want to come out to the country and they want to find a job, they want to find employment, but they don't know if that's the right country for them. Come here, come to the country first, look around for a job. You can't get a job while you're here on a visit visa, but you can look around, make some connections, throw your resumes out there, you know what I'm saying, and put your irons in the fire. And then after that, you can make some network connections, get some phone numbers like that, and start setting things up. Now you've already been there. And this is how I got my job when I was in Bahrain. I actually just went to Bahrain. A friend of mine invited me. And I stayed there for 2 weeks. And every day, I'm talking about every day after Fajr, 6:30 in the morning, I got me a giant 1 liter bottle of water because it was hot as blazes in Bahrain at that time. I was there in April. In April, it was 95 degrees at 6:30 in the morning, man. And I'm footing it on the bus stop. I'm going down to the district where all of the schools are, you know what I mean? And I got bulk copies of my CV, my resume, and I'm giving them to anybody. I'm walking in, I want to speak to the principal, I want to speak to the manager, I want to speak to the director, you know, and so I'm doing all of that. I wound up, alhamdulillah, securing a job before I went back home. So now it was just grind, get my money up, let my family know what's happening, get them prepared. They already knew why I was going, you know, but now I'm like, okay, yo, I found something. This is when I start. Okay, we got X amount of time. The wheels went in motion. Okay, the wheels went in motion. Here's the thing. If you don't speak the language, there are so many people that do. There are a lot of people that do. More than what you might think. Okay? Good morning. It's morning here now, really early morning for you, right? There are a lot of people who speak that the language of English. They may not speak it like we're accustomed to them speaking it, but they do speak English, or they at least can understand you. And what's going to be the bulk of your English? You need to know where to go, where's the grocery store, where's the whatever, you know, it's functional, what we call functional English. How do I get from here to there? How much is this? Where is this? How do I go here? Where's the hospital? Where's this? Like that. It's different. It's not like conversation where you're going to sit down and have a 20-minute, 30-minute conversation with somebody, you know what I'm saying, about whatever. You know, it's functional language. So there's a lot of people that do. And if they don't, they'll say, listen, one second, I don't speak English. Ahmed, come here. She needs to know where the such and such is. Oh, yeah, we'll do it. And his English isn't that great, but they willing to help you. You know what I'm saying? So don't let that be a barrier. Don't let that be a barrier, because taking it from somebody who is an introvert, you know what I mean, with a big mouth, that's why I be on video a lot, right? And I'm an introvert with an extrovert position, as in I teach. So my job necessitates me talking, and I gotta talk, you know, and because I talk a lot, I have forced myself to be a bit more social and a little bit more on taking the initiative of striking conversations with people. It really isn't as awkward as you might think. It really isn't. It's just a different vibe, and I can't really explain it in a video. You got to actually be here and start just kind of networking with the people, just vibing with the people, just being around people. People are just nice. You know what I'm saying? They're very nice. They're very courteous, you know. There's a lot to offer. But going back to the title of the video, you got to get a passport first. You can't talk about going anywhere and you don't have a passport. You got to get a passport. Get one for yourself. Get one for your kids. I think the children's passport is something like $85, I think. And I think the passport for the adults, if it's not 150, it's 105. I got mine renewed last year, so I'm good for another 10 years with it lacking out. You know what I mean? And I don't plan on coming back to the States for a minute unless I have to take care of business or whatever. But I'm out, man. You know what I'm saying? It's a different vibe. It really is a different vibe. Get out here, be amongst the people, pray in the different masajids, experience, get the experience. Don't just come out for just Hajj and Umrah, which is good, you know what I mean? But get out and get your feet wet, get those training wheels off you so that you can see how people live in the country, you know. There's not a whole lot I can really say about that. Just you gotta figure a way. You gotta figure a way. Okay. Yeah, you can know the basics. Yeah. I remember a brother he came to the masjid. He was from Egypt. Really good brother, mashallah. And he was telling us, he said, I want to teach you guys, if you guys want to learn Arabic, I want to teach you, like, if you want to learn Quran, if you want to learn Hadith and like that. So I said, okay, that's a good thing. However, I said, we need to know, because I'm a very practical person. I said, we need to know not just the Arabic of Quran and the Arabic of Hadith. We need to know the Quran, the Arabic for a can of beans. How do I say a broom or a mop in Arabic? How do I say the hospital? Where's the hospital? How do I say taxi? How do I say pants? How do I say apartment? How do I say bed? You know what I mean? How do I say a can of corn? Functional, practical language. But again, except there are certain countries that you won't find any remnant of English at all anywhere. So you got to learn something from the language. But in the Middle Eastern countries, you got to understand there's a constant influx. A constant, flow of people coming in and coming out the country from Western countries and from countries that are not Western, but English is it's like the second language of the country. So there's a lot of things. If I took you around right now to all the signs and the signs, the highway signs, they're in Arabic and English. There are people, there's two guys been standing outside my car. If I stopped them right now and interviewed them and talked to them in English, he's going to speak English. It's going to be broken English. Okay, it's going to be a little bit choppy, but it's enough that I can understand what he's saying. So again, don't put a barrier up where there's not one that exists yet. Okay, if you're going to a remote area in another country, specifically in Arabic country, because I'm in Arabic countries, if you're going to a remote area where it's a small village and you got the Bedou, like the desert Arabs out there, or you got one of those we have them in the States, we call them oil towns, right? So it's a little town, population 3,000 people. In a place like that, they probably don't get a lot of foreign influence, a lot of foreigners or Westerners that come through there. In that case, yeah, that will be a challenge. But in your bigger cities, and in cities where a lot of Westerners are coming back and forth, and a lot of people who speak English are coming back and forth, it's not difficult at all. It's not difficult at all. Even in an emergency situation, certain words are universal. So as an example, before I close, you say something like, you need to go to the hospital, right? So you say to somebody, where's the hospital? First, he's going to go, huh? It's not he don't understand, is that he hasn't heard the word hospital in a while. He doesn't use that word. He says mustashfa. He says mustashfa for hospital. But when you said it, and he says, what? You said the hospital. I need the hospital. Ah, the hospital. Okay, go here, this one, this light, go here, turn, and then go straight. You see, like, it's going to be broken English, but you can communicate. There's some element of communication there. Okay. He knows. He just doesn't use that a lot because that's just not his language. You know what I'm saying? But don't let that be a barrier. You will need to know some basic words to get you in and out of the airport and all that stuff. But other than that, there's certain things: hospital, clinic, grocery store, universal. You know what I mean? Parking lot, car, restaurant. There's McDonald's here. There's Burger King. There's Wendy's. No, there's no Wendy's. There's Hardee's. There's Pizza Hut. It's got all the creature comforts, so that you're going to run into not just Arab-speaking people. You're going to run into a lot of Asians here, a lot of Filipinos here. They speak English very, very well, and they speak Arabic, which is like blew my mind. A Filipino that can speak Arabic. There are Indians here. There are Malaysians here. There are Sri Lankans here. There are Sudanese here. Sudanese, the ones who do speak English, speak it very well. There are, what else? I could just look around and just tell you. There's a lot of Pakistanis here. There are some Russians here. There are some Australians here. There are Canadians here. There's a lot of people here, man. And English is not something that is as obscure now as it was maybe 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. It's just not like that. So a lot of those things that you might think are barriers are actually no longer barriers. They're no longer barriers. So get yourself a passport. I'm telling you, you're going to greatly benefit. And when you get that passport, you might see that things start to speed along your track a little bit faster now, because now you've taken that first step. You've taken that first step, you got that passport, and all of a sudden, a door opens, another door opens, another door opens, another door opens. And before you know it, you're like, well, look, I'm leaving in 6 months. Whereas you thought this was something that was going to be off a year or two, 3 years or something. You're projecting long term. You find out that ever since you got that passport, your time window has really shrunk now, and you're ready to roll. It just happens like that, you know. So get a passport, Ikhwan. Get a passport, sisters and brothers. You're going to be very, very grateful that you did. If you can't leave right away, even though you've got the passport, at least you get a chance to get outside the country and just experience people. Experience the people, experience the culture. And then you got more information. You can only get so much information on a group or in a WhatsApp room or in a Telegram room or watching YouTube videos. It's not the same, man, as having boots on the ground, as they say. It's just not the same. It really isn't the same. So you'll that's where you'll start, you know, but that's not where you end. So that's it, you guys. Jazaakallaahu khair for watching. Thank you for interacting with me. And I know this was a little bit longer than what I had planned, but I just wanted to kind of get that out. I'm feeling good. I'm going to get me a cup of coffee, and I'm going to chill. I'm going to relax, inshallah. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.